Hello everyone, welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Commander review video. This is the last commander of the Urza's Saga set, and today we are talking about Karn Silver Golem, which is a legendary golem. It is a 4/4 and it costs 5 generic mana. It has 2 abilities, one activated and one triggered. The first one is whenever Karn Silver Golem blocks or becomes blocked, and that's important wording right there, it gets -4/+4 until end of turn. So essentially, once it is registered by the game as a blocked or blocking creature, it will become a 0/8 as a triggered ability. And then second, for 1 mana, target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its mana value until end of turn, which is very cool. One of the deck ideas will take advantage of that very well. Now, to go back on those rules, just to clarify some things, the blocking ability triggers only once, no matter how many blockers are declared. And that, when I mentioned earlier, the wording of his ability is important. It's because it triggers when he becomes blocked or is blocking, not based on how many creatures it is blocking it. It just cares about it becoming blocked or blocking a creature. So once that requirement is met, it will get the +4, -4/+4 until the rest of the turn. I imagine this also applies to extra combat steps. Because it was declared in a combat as blocking or blocked, the requirement has been met. So, in a second combat phase, I imagine it would still only... Well, no, actually... because it would be declared as a blocker or blocking again, so that would be the only way in my brain that you could double trigger Karn's ability, is by having additional combat steps where it meets the requirement of being blocked or being a blocker. But bear that in mind, if you attack your opponent and they block Karn with 3 creatures, it still only gets it once because it only cares about Karn becoming blocked, not the 3 creatures blocking it. So bear that in mind, but still very cool. Raises it, doubles its toughness. And then secondly, a non-creature permanent that turns into a creature can attack, and its tap abilities can be activated only if its controller has continuously controlled that permanent since the beginning of their most recent turn. It doesn't matter how long the permanent has been a creature. Pretty much this is just kind of like a clarification of the summoning sickness rules. If you played a Soul Ring on turn 1, and then you played Karn on turn 2, the next turn, after the third turn, I guess, after that, you turn your Soul Ring into a creature. Since you've had the Soul Ring for like 3 turns, it's all good. It can attack, it can do a whole bunch of shenanigans now as a creature. But if it's turn 5, you've played your Karn, and then you play your Soul Ring, and it's the turn you played the Soul Ring, you have not controlled that permanent since the beginning of your turn. So once you turn it into a creature, it's going to have that summoning sickness on it because it just came into play. So, little interesting on the wording there, but pretty much it's just saying any permanents that entered the battlefield that turn and you turn it into a creature are going to be summoning sick. So just be careful of that. Card I picked to combo or synergize with Karn is Voltaic Construct, untap target artifact creature. I assume that there are going to be plenty, if not tons of ways to take advantage of Karn's second ability to make infinite mana, infinite untap triggers. Earlier I had mentioned Soul Ring as something that you could turn into a creature. Soul Ring does produce 2 mana, so you could tap the Soul Ring as an artifact creature. use Voltaic Construct's ability to untap the Soul Ring. That gives you unlimited, infinite untaps. Excuse me. If you did anything like Basalt Monolith, I think that one makes 3 mana. You could make infinite mana. Anything that would make 3 mana as a mana rock. Hedron Archive, not Hedron Archive. What's the other one I'm thinking of? There's the 6 mana Hedron that makes 3 mana. You guys know which one I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments below. But anything that can make 3 or more generic mana as a mana rock can be turned into a creature and then make you infinite mana. So, tons of infinite combos with that second ability. The deck that I have Karn in is a Swords of deck, and this is one of my favorite decks that I've built. I've decided that if for some reason in the future, if I ever had to stop playing Magic for whatever reason, and I had to just pick 1 or 2 decks, maybe 5 or so decks at most, and then get rid of the rest, this would be one of them. My Sliver deck would be the first one I pick, hands down. But this would probably be my second. And this is the Swords of Cycle deck. I do have all the Swords of cards in this deck. So much fun. The only one I don't have yet is Wealth and Power. But this deck is a Voltron deck that's themed around the swords. It's got some other swords in there, like Sword of the Animist or World Slayer is in the deck. Lots of ways to protect Karn besides the Swords of cards. There's things like Lava Spur boots, and then of course you need a ramp in this deck so you can play all these equipment and attach them to Karn. So Wayfarer's Bauble is a great artifact. Popular deck idea on EDH Rec is a generic artifacts deck, and of course this deck is going to have a lot of artifacts. It's going to have a lot of colorless synergies, and of course one of the great win conditions of the deck would be Karnstructs that Karn Planeswalker, Scion of Urza, can make. Lastly, for my fun, janky, weird idea, is going full throttle on the turning non-creature artifacts into creatures and winning the game that way. So there are 3 parts to this deck. Really only 2, but there are 3 crucial ones. Or 2 crucial ones and there are 3 generics. First is you're going to have a lot of ramp, and most importantly, lots of ways to reduce the cost of your artifacts. Whether that be artifact creatures that reduce the cost of artifacts, Cloud Key can reduce the cost of artifacts. You want to make your artifacts as cheap as possible because the artifacts you're going to play are very expensive, like Aladdin's Lamp, Ingenuity Engine, and Ingenuity Engine I put in here because of the Cascade, which is just very nice. You can get another artifact for free. But Aladdin's Lamp and anything around that mana value of 10 is perfect for this deck because you're going to ramp into it, you're going to reduce the cost of it, make it really easy to play, and then your win condition is you're going to like board wipe anything but artifacts or anything but colorless cards, and then you're going to turn all of your big mana cost artifacts into large threats and swing at your opponents for lethal damage. And I think that this would be a lot of fun, it'd be very janky, and it would be very interesting at the table. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. That is going to do it for Karn Silver Golem. Cool deck ideas. I like this idea that like you're playing an artifact creature deck, but you're not playing with a lot of artifact creatures. You're just really just filling the board with mana dorks, turning them into creatures, throwing them at your opponents, and having a great time doing it. Of course, one of the biggest downsides is that it is colorless, so it is a colorless deck. There are no colors you can put into it. That has been one of my biggest downfalls of this deck that I have, the Swords of deck, is there are great cards in different colors, but you don't get them in colorless. With that said, there are some powerful artifacts, there are some powerful colorless cards, and with Modern Horizons 3 coming out, there are some great colorless synergies. A lot of them are focused on Eldrazi's, but Generally speaking, there are some great colorless cards that do help colorless decks, and I'm so excited for that to come out. That's going to help a lot with my Swords of deck, and I'm sure it's going to help everyone with their Eldrazi decks, because there's some sweet Eldrazi coming out in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that I missed or didn't mention, like combos or synergies, deck ideas, so on and so forth. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!